Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Davante Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
Hello, and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is RichiRichEh of the MHRT Network. Over to my left is the one and only Captain Jack Rackham. Captain, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Am I still buzzing?
Yes.
Yep.
Buzzing on, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I turned off the Bose speaker system. I turned on.
We'll just try to ignore it. We'll just forget about it.
I mean, and honestly, I can't hear it. I can't hear it.
Maybe it's one of those sounds that like only 40 below or 45
Well,
below.
I will say this, and I'm not lying. There is a decibel level that people can hear that irritates them. And I can't hear it. So there's like a band of hearing that I can't hear that irritates other people, and I don't hear it.
For what it's worth, it's gone now.
I'm still there. It's just low.
Yeah,
I can't hear it.
So
I can't hear it. Sorry, apologies.
And
sorry, not sorry though.
Always no.
And down directly below me is the one and only Alex Gibbons of Arrowhead Addict. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing good, Richie. As my friend in the chat, Jacob said, feels good knowing the Chiefs just snow globed the AFC West.
Oh, we're going to talk about that shite.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to talk about that shite. Classless.
Okay. Look who's talking.
Without
Look who's talking. Let's take laps around Arrowhead and stab our flag into the field.
How many years ago was that, a-hole?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Okay. And you kicked our ass and you said, hey, that was for the running around the Arrowhead. That was a couple years ago when you kicked our ass, said that was for running around Arrowhead. So now you do that shite.
People
and now classless. So that means that you are one up on it. You know what? Again, to you, double pick my nose up your, to you. Double pick my nose.
I would have paid. I did see you on TV, by the way.
For about a half second.
But I would have paid handsomely to see your reaction when that happened in real time. Assuming you
actually,
were there.
I saw the play, but I must have looked up at the very end when you guys were doing the last spin, because I didn't see the whole turn. I just saw guys going to their positions. So I didn't see the ring around the rosy bullshit. I just saw people breaking for their positions.
Whatever.
No, if I would have seen it, I would have let you guys know.
Was that in your corner?
I only found out later on. I said, "What the hell was that?" I'm like, "About what?"
I was just saying whatever to your overall saltiness about it. But considering the fact that you are a pirate, I understand.
Yeah, well, again, I'm just saying, class list.
Was that in your corner of the end zone?
It did get a flag avatar, but it was like holding. It wasn't because of the play itself. It was all legit.
Yeah, they got a flag for holding, and then the next play, the guy scored.
Yeah, it was legal. It was also a 31-13 game.
Yeah, and you know what?
Stidham is who we thought he was. Stidham magic. It's gone.
Right here. And you know what? I like you, Alex, but as a Chiefs fan, you are a smug asshole, and I can't fucking stand that about anybody of your fan base, and I cannot wait until you guys get bounced. Until you get bounced, because then are we going to have shows during the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, okay. When you get bounced, I am going to do a Goonie Goo Goo dance just for you. It's going to be a Goonie Goo Goo dance. And I'm going to laugh my goody goo goo ass off, just like Eddie Murphy did. And I'm going to say, that is for you, you smug a-hole.
All right.
That's how you really feel.
Just for the record, Captain, right when you decided to pull a Michael Jackson grab, Rosalie came in and said hi.
Hi, Rose.
So, not gonna lie, a bit of an awkward timing there, but hi, how are you?
How you doing, Rosalie? Well, Rosalie understands me when I'm pissed off, so it wasn't directed right at Rosalie, but again, if Rosalie, if she ever wants to see a package grab, all she has to do is ask.
Right.
I didn't ask.
I know. Well, that was given
no
to you
consent for
you
yours.
are a smug asshole.
Damn. All right.
Okay.
And Coach, over to you. How are we doing today? This is Coach Defense of the Lockdown Defense Podcast.
I'm doing as good as a team that's in the playoffs can be. So, Avatar, what's happening?
Don't say anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing as good as a team that's in the playoffs can be right now, so I'm good to go.
I see. Well, I think we should probably go into a bit of a recap.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, at some point, there has to be a bit of leeway when your team is actually doing well. Now, in fairness, though, the true test will be eventually when the Chiefs start falling from grace, which eventually will happen.
Well, when you're up top, you gotta come off the top at some point, right? So
you're not on top yet.
Well, okay, at the AFC West, they are unequivocally on top, and as far as you guys are concerned, that's the first tier for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Continue the smugness, then I can.
That's true. And you know what? Again, this is exactly
my mom doesn't think I'm smug. Thanks, Mom. Hey, Capt, Mike.
Hey, Mom.
And I also, the Chiefs were not good for the longest time, so let me enjoy it.
No, Mom. I adore you, Mom, but your son is a smug asshole, and it's a lot of
my mother like that.
It's the
same, simmer down, buddy. Simmer down.
It's the same attitude that the majority of the probably 70% of the people that were wearing red that were there last week had. And I get it. But you know what? When you guys drop down again, and it will happen, and hopefully it'll happen before they put me in the ground. Okay. I will be there again to do a Goonie Goo Goo dance and enjoy it. And hopefully I will be doing a Goonie Goo Goo dance as soon as possible. That's
now, just to confirm,
even Coach, who like I said, is very positive about his team, is not as smug as that.
Just to
He's not.
confirm, the Goonie Goo Goo dance that you're referring to, that's the Caddyshack Gopher dance, correct?
Or either that or the Carlton or a offshoot of the Carlton. It'll be like
I think it is. It's the Gopher dance.
I always thought it was the Gopher dance, but that's just that's just me. Yeah. So anywho, with regards to last week's game, I think we should probably kick off since we've already halfway gotten into it already. I mean, why not just go all the way there? Let's have a wee little chat between Mr. Givens and Captain and talk about the Chiefs versus Raiders to end the season for at least one of the teams there.
It was for our team. I'd be. Come on.
Yeah.
Call it out.
Yeah, and so obviously the Raiders are not in the playoffs as with the Broncos.
Whoa.
The bottom half of the four pictures here are in the playoffs, and the top.
I was going to say the top two teams are still on top, but the teams that are in the playoffs are on the bottom.
Right. So Alex, what were your thoughts on the game there? What did you like? What did you not like?
I mean, I thought it was a pretty good game for the Chiefs, especially going into the playoffs, because, like I said, going into last week, what we needed to see out of them is to negate the special teams errors and the turnovers. And I think you saw a more complete game on all facets of the ball because they didn't have any turnover woes, and you saw kind of the score differential and how it can be when they don't shoot themselves in the foot, which is what they've done in the past 4 to 5 weeks. So, for me, I think it was a good stepping stone type of game in terms of what they got rid of doing to focus on, going into the playoffs. It helps that they're the number 1 seed. So I guess still on top. That might be smug of me to say, but, that's facts. So I'm just going to speak objectively. That's I thought it was a good game for the Chiefs. Defense played well, 6 sacks. Chris Jones very much made his presence known. Oh, well, okay. You guys didn't think it was that type of team going into the season when you told me KC would finish last. So now I'm just getting
I did not.
Bro, yes, you did. Let's go look at the clips.
Let's go look at the clip. Yeah, I did not call KC last. I said I thought the Raiders were going to be the best team in the AFC West. They were not.
Well, anyways,
they were not.
Thought it was a good overall team game for the Chiefs. So we'll just see how this wild card round plays out and who they got. So
interesting. So was there anything that concerned you at all from that game in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, no, not really. Like they didn't really have any special teams errors like they've been having. Tony looked good, and no one got hurt. They only got healthier. Activated Hardman before the game, which they had to do, but seemed to be getting healthier on the offensive side of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see how they use that once they have everyone. But, I mean, overall, I thought it was a pretty good all-around game, like I said. I was really focused on making sure they didn't do any of the special teams errors or shoot themselves in the foot with keeping the defense on the field or putting them in bad situations, which they didn't do. And, like I said, defense showed up, 6 sacks. Kind of hard to have anything to complain about.
Sure. Alex, I do need to just quickly throw something up on the screen here. I think it's important that everyone realizes what Avatar is referring to when he's saying that you're calling games. This is what we all believe is.
I suppose I'll give it to him.
I mean that I'm not going to lie. That's pretty good. That's a reasonable doppelganger there, in my opinion. So I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, I'll take it. I guess I wish I had his job, but maybe not.
His job, his money.
I mean, I would. I would like. Yeah, I'd like to have his job. But yeah.
Interesting. So, with regards to you, Captain, where are you at in terms of the Raiders game? What did you like? What didn't you like? Other than the fact, obviously, you lost, but like, there's obviously going to be positive takeaways that you saw from the game. So,
I'm not sure. Well, I was positive of that, and I'll be honest, okay, and I'm going to tell you why I thought the Raiders were going to win the game. Okay, I will go back to my prediction last week. Is the way that they played as a team under Stidham the week prior against the number one defensive team in the 49ers, and both Waller and Renfro and the team played well, and that they seemed to be coming together. And like I said, putting that with knowing how close that first game was in Kansas City, where a really, a crappy, why do you go for two in away? I don't understand. Again, we lose by 1 point, and that was because we went for two, So it's one of the things that said, well, we are going to come out. And I said, we've been building up for it. The Raiders lost 4 of the last 5 games. I mean, that is a fact. There's really not a lot of positives going out from this. And the fact is that, Josh Jacobs was the NFL rushing leader. That was one of the positives. And, he'll make a good contract out of it with his spoils. Okay. I don't really have anything to say other than I had a great game. I mean, I was undefeated all season. Okay. So again, getting a chance to hang out with fans, and it's so many red people. Like I said, I enjoy hanging out with the opposing fans and having fun with them. Even when they were still in the stadium, I actually did like the old Ferris Bueller. It's like, you're still here? Go home. I did that with them. And Richie, there was one group of Kansas City fans just like you. They were Canadian, so they were the nicest of the Kansas City fans. Assholes like Alex is, But I just wait. But yeah, I enjoyed the game, and a lot of people enjoyed it. But it was just one of those things. Oh, I missed the private chat. I'm sorry. Wait. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I was missing the private chat. I wanted to make sure it wasn't something I really needed to see. Possibly. But I enjoy the fans, and I enjoy the camaraderie, and I enjoy the group of people here. And that's why I do the things that I do. But I firmly believe, and this is not hate, although there is a little bit of hate in it, I firmly believe that the AFC West will not be represented in the Super Bowl this year. I just have that gut feeling that it will be either the Bills or the Bengals, who both beat Kansas City. I think Kansas City had the luxury of when the Bills and the Bengals did not play that game, there was probably a very good opportunity that the Chiefs would not have had that bye. I really firmly believe that the Chiefs had a positivity of having the bye only because of the results of that non-game. Okay.
I mean, that's not on them though. So
this is not for this is not specifically for Coach, because this is not pissiness on my part. But I think that probably one of the best teams in the AFC, the way that they've been playing collectively in the latter half of the season, has been Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I think that Jacksonville this year is playing like the Bengals did last year, that they are a up-and-coming ascending team where they're getting stuff together at the right time. So it wouldn't surprise me if either the two teams that beat Kansas City or Jacksonville as a sleeper represents the AFC. And again, that's not hate. That's not hate towards the Chargers. So I'm still trying to find my son a ticket to the game in Jacksonville, because he lives in he lives in Melbourne, and he's a Gargler fan, and he wants to go to the game.
Wait. Your son is a Chargers fan?
Yeah, I got to I got to him too late in life.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to him too late in life. So yeah, he was in San Diego as a Gargler fan, and it's stepson, by the way. But that's the reason why, stepson. But he's my son. But he is a true Gargler fan because he stayed with the team through all the highs and lows of that franchise. So, and I remember the first Christmas that he brought him and his now ex-wife and his 2 stepdaughters into my house for Christmas. They were all wearing Gargler jerseys to my house on Christmas Day.
I like them already.
I was going to say that's that's a coach approval right there.
Yes.
Yeah. and I said,
we got to meet and do lunch.
No. And I tell you what, he's good people, Coach. He's a really great kid.
Well, despite the fact that you're a Raider fan, Cap, you're good people too. So I won't hold that against you.
Thank you. But I told him, I said, I will allow it today, but you will never, ever effing wear that shite in my house again, and they never have.
Well, what you should have done is handed them a Raiders jersey and demanded they wear it over top, and that would have been fitting. But
when their daughter was, or actually, God, she's what, 13 or 14 now.
Yeah.
When his daughter was a baby, I did buy her a Raider onesie.
Nice.
So I did make sure that, and there I do know that there are pictures of her in the Raider onesie, so at least I have that
nice
on my favorite. But it's one of those things, like I said, that congratulations to the Chiefs and the Gargler and the Charger, whatever their name is, the team from San Diego that used to be the Chargers, the Los Angeles Gargler, whatever their name is. Okay, congratulations to the Chiefs and Chargers for making the playoffs. But
it's a huge feat in and of itself, right?
I'm sorry, sir. What?
That's a big feat just in and of itself of being one of the teams in the playoffs. Like it's making it to the playoffs is a big deal in the NFL because the NFL is, if not the hardest professional league to play in, due to the style of the game and the churn that you typically end up with from the top and the bottom. Yeah,
but again, I just believe that the Chargers are going to go up against a team that is playing on all cylinders at the right time in their house in Jacksonville. And I don't know what's going to happen there. We'll talk about that later. But I also believe that if and when it comes down to it, that the Chiefs are going to go down by one of the teams that beat them this year. And
I think that's possible too. I want to quickly pull up a few comments here just so that we can get through some of them, and then we will.
I talked too much. I'm sorry.
We will get quickly into the Chargers and Broncos game. Edward, I do want to speak to this. I actually happen to be a Derek Carr fan. I think he's a much better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for. I also question, much like I question some of the overall critiques of Hackett on the Broncos as a head coach as it relates to Russell Wilson, although I think it may be the exact inverse there with the Raiders, which is, was that really a Carr problem, or was that a McDaniels issue of wanting to run something that didn't fit Carr and he just didn't care? Because that would at that point ultimately actually land on exactly as coach has ultimately said here. Really, is that really what happened, or is it really the other way around? I'm not going to lie. I'm personally inclined to inverse that, which is I'm inclined to think that it was really McDaniels that just said, we're doing it my way and I don't care.
I mean, how many passing yards? Was it Carr like third or fourth in the league last year, passing yards?
Yes.
He was high. He was high up there, yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's your answer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the interim coach.
Got the offensive guru in.
Right.
And,
Interim coaching, he did that. So, no Devontae.
Yeah, Mom. I think the Bills would have beat the Bengals.
I do too. Alex's mom, I have to agree with Captain on this. I do wholeheartedly believe that the Buffalo Bills are a far superior team, and that they would have come back and they would have won that game, perhaps even handily as the game went on, because that's been something that the Bills have typically done over the course of the season. So with that in mind, Coach, obviously our teams played one another, and there were some unfortunate events actually for some of the Chargers players. A little bit further up here, there was a comment here by Michael. Michael, thank you for joining the show. Really do appreciate you coming in. Believe it or not, I actually did, and I think we may have even also covered this on our show last week, which is there's actually pretty compelling evidence at the NFL level to state that you are better off playing your starters at least for a half.
Yeah.
When you go into the playoffs, because any team that rests all their starters,
look at Tennessee.
The statistics basically are you're going to lose.
Yeah. I mean, look at Tennessee, week 17. They sat people because they knew they didn't have to win that game.
Right.
And then
it's a staggering stat that I believe it's 78% of teams that play their starters in the last week of the season, week 17 or 18, have a 70% chance of winning their first playoff game. But conversely, if you sit your starters in the last week of the season, they have a 30% chance of winning their first playoff game. So,
right.
That's staggering with itself just about the numbers. But yet again, it's always team to team. It dictates what you should and shouldn't do, right? Now, it's also a widely known fact that the Chargers have had a lot of injuries this year, right?
Yes.
Now, the rules state also that you only can allow a certain amount of practice squad players you can elevate for a game. Right, so we already were minus, several people on season-ending IR. So we literally walked into the game with about 48 active people on the roster. So we had no choice but to play people longer than we probably would have liked to in this game based upon our numbers, right? But going back to the whole idea of having camaraderie, synergy, and rhythm with your team going into the playoffs versus sitting them and potentially getting out of rhythm is also I guess you could say a moment of contentiousness. We need to maybe or maybe not do it. So I think that the mindset in the mantra going in is, short-handed. 1, 2, we don't want to kill our rhythm because we just played a really good offensive game the week before that. So we didn't want to kill our rhythm by sitting people, knowing that we had the playoffs in hand, essentially, especially with the Ravens playing at the 1 o'clock window and they had already lost. So we pretty much knew that we were going to be the 5 seed regardless. So, but I think it's more about the rhythm of the team, the synergy of the team, wanting to keep winning, wanting to keep building on the offensive production that we have had in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I think that's really what it was mainly about. Yeah, and an unfortunate, situation where some people got dinged up in the game naturally because they played more than they wanted. You probably wanted them to, and the simple fact that it's just football. It's a collision sport. Things happen, right? Now, to me, none of them were highly detrimental. We didn't lose anybody for the season. Mike has severe back spasms. They're working on him with treatment wise. Joey got a little dinged up, but he's fine. He's practiced today. So did Kenneth Murray. So I think everybody else, for the most part, it was healthy going into the game. Is healthy at this point and did a full participate in practice today. So it wasn't highly toxic or highly detrimental to play them, regardless of what you think of the move, right? So overall, I don't knock them doing that because again, looking at people that sit people, and I'm worried about the Giants. The Giants sat everybody in their game. They're going to turn around and got to go to Minnesota this week. So will they be clicking? Will they be sluggish? Will they have their rhythm? Will they not? That's all questionable. But you can't deny the fact that you would have a rhythm if you played your start at least a half, like we alluded to. So I think that's the biggest thing people have to understand, that football is a game of numbers, is a game of rhythm and timing and like I said, just overall trust and camaraderie. So I think they really went into this game wanting to win, but more so wanting to keep the momentum that they had and they were building up when they get to the playoffs.
I think that's fair, and I think what you also need to remember as well, and this is going to be really interesting for the Giants, is football players build up a tolerance for the wear and tear on their bodies and the hits that they take, almost like they call it callus, right, over the course of the season, where you that's why you often have so many injuries right during kind of training camp and stuff, is because these guys aren't
they haven't built
they haven't built that up again, right? And so
it's a cardinal rule that you say that you only learn to hit by hitting, and you only
exactly. And so the challenge that you're going to end up with these guys is they need to keep absorbing a few hits over the course of that period of time to keep that callus strong, and then sit them. Now, I do agree with you that your issue may have been you played a few guys probably a little too long.
Yeah, I mean, but we had no choice because, like I said, we were limited in numbers.
Right, but you just didn't have enough guys on the roster to fill out the team, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But this is where I think it's very important to call kind of a duck and say it is in the best interest of your team to play all of your starters for at least almost a full half, if not a full half, to keep that callus the way it is over the course of the season and go from there. It is not a good idea to sit your starters because it, again, to your point, and based on those stats, it has never worked.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, for people, I think the Giants was the only team that had pretty much everything locked up there that didn't play starters. Everybody else did. Bengals played theirs. The Dallas played theirs, although they played horribly with their starters. So practically every team played their starters for at least a half or more. Because they either had something to play for, they were just trying to keep their vibe going. So that's.
Well, I think the Bills and the Bengals played their guys because they didn't play the week prior.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You had almost had right. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't knock the idea of playing.
Chiefs played all their guys.
Was it?
They played. Chiefs played all their guys.
Yeah.
I think they rested Joe Thuney. That was more just because he's had an ankle injury going almost all season. So why not?
Right.
They didn't sit all starters or anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that I kind of cover off a little bit about the Broncos side of this particular game that we just had. First off, Dave, great to see you again. Thank you for joining. Longtime supporter of the MHRT network in Mr. Dave Glassman. Just wanted to kind of call out what we saw from the Broncos a little bit in that, which is we saw our defense kind of finally come out and play again after mailing it in seemingly the previous 2 weeks. And that was one of the things that I brought up when the Bolt Bros had me on as part of the, Broncos Chargers kind of last game of the season matchup, where I was personally discussing the fact that this is going to be a very telling game for our defensive coordinator, which is, can he get the defensive players to get fired up again and come out and play like they had in the previous portions of the season? I think while we didn't see all of the same things that we saw in the previous parts of the season, we certainly did see the defense step up and play much better. And I think that shows.
Russell played better too.
And Russ actually came out and played properly too, which is another good thing. Which again makes you start questioning. And I don't even think that this is a Hackett issue or a coaching issue. It is a matter of, does the player want to play for the coach, or does the coach want to put the player in the best positions possible? And I think both things can be true, and I believe that ultimately is what occurred in Denver, which is, I think Russ wanted to try and become a pocket passer. Hackett, just as a yes man, said yes and tried to do it. And then I also don't think that Hackett and Russ got along particularly well, and I don't think that Russ really wanted to play for Hackett the way that you otherwise would want a quarterback to play for a coach. And then as soon as Hackett is left, you're starting to see Russ start to dial it back up again and start to make throws and do things that he otherwise hasn't. And frankly, I think that there should be some form of disciplinary action of some kind, or a public calling out, because what that tells you is that some of the mistakes that we saw this season were not actual mistakes, that they may have actually been done I want to say on purpose, but certainly partially on purpose for lack of effort on Russ's part, and that should be called out publicly, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not gonna speak on that part because I don't know either that is any merit. But to your first point, I want to ask the question of when did they get discovered? Because when Russ got traded, he had to agree to be traded because he had a no trade clause in his contract. So he had to agree to be traded to the Broncos, and he knew Hackett was there. So when did the disconnect happen? Like when he first got there, training camp, preseason.
Cap and I actually, our coach and I talked about this earlier today too.
We did. We did.
Because I was, you go. No,
yeah, I'm just curious about when the disconnect happened. When did him and Hackett had the meeting of the minds of sorts, and they realized they didn't like each other, or at least one person didn't like the other. I wonder when that happened.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that it was an attempted meshing of two systems, and then, but I also think that, well, first off, I also think that Russ had a private discussion with ownership and other folks the same time that Hackett was fired. Like I truly believe that, like, when you hear the presser, like when you saw the owner, like the CEO and the GM that were both sitting at the podium there talking, there's nothing about them that should lead you to believe that they're not thorough. And in all of their speaking and all the things that they said. So I truly believe that they had a sit down discussion to say, get going. No, I don't think he was.
Okay.
Yeah, no cake for you.
Sierra was, but not him.
Yeah.
No, the other way. Well, Sierra was obviously invited to the birthday party and the after party.
She's invited wherever she wants to go. Let's just keep it honest. Wherever she wants to go, we're going. My buddy. Wherever you go, I go.
Yeah. So I actually think that where it really broke down was Hackett wanted to implement his system because he felt his system was going to be successful. Russ came with his own package of plays and things that he was demanding, and it was likely promised as part of his no trade clause waiving. And then they tried to mesh them. You can't mesh a system with another thing that doesn't really belong together, and that's why you saw something that didn't look particularly great on the field. What you did, however, see is certain plays and certain concepts where wide receivers were in fact wide open, because Hackett is a very gifted offensive play caller, but it did not fit with what Russ was trying to fit himself into.
I see the look on your face, Alex. Please say it. Please say it.
Come on. He never called plays until he got to Denver.
Exactly.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. He did not call plays.
He was the floor's water boy.
He was his quarterback coach.
He soaked in play calling.
He was an offensive play caller at a different level, different area. He was.
Not in the NFL, though.
Not in the NFL, though. That's what we're saying.
No, but he has been an offensive play caller. So he has stacked plays and built game plans. And it makes total sense that he also did game plans and everything in Green Bay as well.
Yeah.
Like LaFleur may have been the one with the play sheet and called the plays, but I have a hard time believing that LaFleur was the only thing that made those plays work. Even Andy Reid has been public to say that he takes in feedback from everybody.
Oh yeah, it's a team effort, but when you're in it and you're actually when you're in it down to down, play to play, it's on you if you're the play caller. Like you making a decision, final decision, what goes in and what goes out, and what gets called and what doesn't. Yeah. So it's the ultimately up you. So when LaFleur's calling those plays, it's ultimately his decision from that play sheet. He might come up with a game plan about the plays we want to run, but it's still up to him to select what plays to run and in what situation. So if you're not in that role, you don't get into that role or understand that role or flourish in that role until you do it. So that's the difference between being an NFL play caller and not being a play caller.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So
fair enough.
I just wonder what happened when Hackett got fired, because it seemed like Russ played pretty well in the last couple of games after Hackett was gone.
That's kind of my thought with it. Like how
And I think that was part of a discussion that was likely had where ownership and the GM said ship up or shape out. Like shape up or ship out.
We're invested. You got to ride it with him. Do what he wants.
Well, no, because I'm almost guaranteeing that the ownership was saying we'll eat all the contract and we'll basically let the fans know that you were unwilling to do it, and they will understand that it was your problem and your fault. But I have no doubt, I have zero doubt that ownership with the amount of money, like literally the ownership.
Russ is too corny about his public image. That would probably be the most direct thing. Like, oh, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, I'm cool.
I'm cool. Let's fix this thing. Let's fix this thing. So I believe that there's two sides to every story.
See, so this is where I was talking to Coach about earlier, because it's like comments like this that would make it seem like it was Hackett that's the reason the offense and Russ was so bad. And so, like, what I said to Coach was, it's not like Russ is in his first or second year. It's not like he's a young QB that hasn't been around the block in the league. So why would he, as the veteran QB presence, not say something sooner or like take some initiative, change plays in on the field or something if he knew that Hackett was the cause of their lulls on the offensive side of the ball. So that's why I always like it. Just is interesting that was just like a complete 180 once they got rid of him, and it's just like I'd imagine like if Tom Brady was in that situation, I find it really hard to believe that Tom Brady is going to do what Nathaniel Hackett wants to do until he gets fired in week 14. He's going to be changing stuff 2 weeks into it after it didn't work, after week 1 really, when it didn't work. And so it's just I just don't get how a veteran presence like that and the franchise guy that you moved all this stuff for doesn't get backlash earlier on that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And then the other thing, that there was a comment there about Harbaugh potentially coming to Denver. I would welcome that. He has already shown success with a quarterback with Colin Kaepernick when he was there in the early parts of his career there, that has a similar style of play, and even Alex Smith as well, who are very similar to Russell Wilson. So I think that there is a valid benefit to bringing in someone like a Jim Harbaugh with that type of a skill set, who's had success with quarterbacks like that before. So
I don't think it's Sean Payton.
I don't think they want to give. I don't think they want to give up capital. And frankly, I don't think they can afford the capital.
They talk a first round pick at least.
Let Arizona do that.
Yeah,
dummies.
Right.
I wouldn't want to go to Arizona. As dysfunctional as they are right now, I would want no parts of that organization.
Wow.
Well, I think Arizona would part ways with Kyler Murray, and then that he would get a quarterback that he would like.
Allegedly, Kyler Murray's involved in the pick, in the discussions and the hiring process. So I guess they're deciding to themselves to him.
And quite frankly,
Derek Carr was discussed in the
financially.
Derek Carr was discussed in the hiring process of the bait and switch between him and Davante Adams. You saw how that worked out,
Yeah. No, I mean, I find it hard to believe they give him that much authority over the direction of their franchise,
right?
Especially with how this season went. Like, if you watch the end-season Hard Knocks, you could tell that he's kind of like a POS. Like, I feel like I wouldn't like Kyler Murray as a person because he seems very. It's not my fault, It's everyone else.
Call of Duty, baby.
It seemed to like really implode. Like, that type of personality meshes well when you're winning, but when you're not. That just like comes out twofold and just implodes. And I mean, you clearly saw that. I feel bad for JJ Watt that he was like, that was the end of his career. Was that situation.
Yeah, that really.
Like, he didn't, but like, it's respectable that he didn't want the praise of like, the like town to town tour of like, this is JJ Watt's last game here. And so like, he waited till he knew they wouldn't have time to like set stuff like that up just to get out. But
well, I can only say that I've only seen one season of Hard Knocks, because I had no desire to see Hard Knocks, and it was obviously the one season that the Raiders were on because I can care less about Hard Knocks.
That was a primo. That was a prime Hard Knocks. AB was there for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it was entertainment. It was entertaining.
About 3 weeks too long.
Yeah, well, yeah. But yeah, that if you trade Kyler Murray is $96 million in dead money if they trade him right now.
Well, the only benefit that we have here is
find hot girls here. Find them.
The benefit that you guys have with
I was trying to get rid of it. Sorry. I was trying to block it, and sorry, apologies.
Yeah, your OnlyFans folks came in too early, Cap.
My OnlyFans.
There is a benefit with Sean Payton, though. He has in fact got extensive experience working with a very short quarterback,
Drew Brees.
Yeah, but you got to give up so much, though. Like, I was looking at like the trade for Gruden, right? It was like what, two firsts and 2 seconds.
Yeah, 2 1s and 2 2s.
Yeah, it was. It was
like even Herm Edwards, right? There was like 5. There's been 5 coaches that have been picks have been involved for them to go to a different team. And even Herm Edwards was a 4th round pick, and like that dude lasted like 2 years in KC.
Wow.
So like I imagine it's at least a 1st rounder, which Denver only has what, 1, 2. Or I mean, yeah, they have 1 this year. So,
Sharif, you're hilarious, by the way. There you go. I'm not sure he knows what that is, but we get it.
I know what that page is. I know. Again, Coach, do I have to do a double booger snot to you too?
Hey, listen. You said you don't watch Hard Knocks, so I was just assuming that you're not into the droves and the trenches of Backpage and Tinder and all that good stuff. You
strike me as a Craigslist guy.
Not that I've ever used it.
Casual encounters.
Casual encounters. Well, Craigslist private.
I keep telling you, it's RedTube, not Craigslist.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Too funny.
So, to round out the show, guys, we have the Chargers coming up with their game against the Jags.
Oh, Chargers.
So, Coach, I would like your take in terms of your opponent and what you think that you need to do to actually come out on top of the Jags, who I have to agree with Captain there. They have been playing very, very well, especially as the season's gone on the back part of it there. They had a bit of a lull in the middle. They were super good at the beginning. They had a bit of some challenges, we'll say, in the middle of the season, but they've really started to come together as the season's kind of started to finish out.
Yeah, I think it's ebbs and flows with that Jags team. Because I literally watched the entirety of the game against the Titans, and they didn't score offensively in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they literally had to win the game off a defensive score. So,
yes.
So they definitely have their ebbs and flows when they get hot. Because think like this, with a more healthy Titans team a few weeks ago, they blew them out the water, and then they struggled with them at home. For the last game of the season with something on the line. It felt like a playoff game. A playoff game before the playoff game type of atmosphere. So it kind of gave you a kind of a slight feel of how they would react, how they would play in a tight environment, in a tensions environment like that. So I think that we just need to take care of business. I mean, I said this a couple of times already. I talked to the Boat Bros on Sunday after the game, and I talked to Kurt last night about it. And I said that we just need to really just take care of business. I think we just need to bring the effort on defense. Be schematically sound, bring the effort on defense. Don't allow them to utilize ETN early in the run game, because I'm sure the elephant in the room is that the Chargers don't stop the run well. So we can bring the effort that we brought against teams like the Titans and the Dolphins, who run the ball, habitually well. We bring that effort to the ball game and make them one dimensional. I think we're in good hands. And this will be the first game that we have a full out, all out, 100% effort and have Joey and Khalil Mack on either side in this game. We haven't seen it since week 3. So I think our pass rush will be at a premium. So and I also think that while our run defense is stout, defensively we should take care of business as far as keeping Trevor Lawrence off balance. Now offensively, we just got to keep the ball rolling. Now, even despite us losing, to the Broncos ultimately, and I think the 2 fumbles was really what did us in, because they got 10 points off of those fumbles with Austin Eckler fumbling and DeAndre Carter fumbling in the red zone, and they literally got points over those, and that ridiculous score they gave up at the half, which was uncharacteristic. So I think that if we handle business defensively and we keep the ball rolling offensively, I think it should be a sound victory for us. So I think that's what we mainly what we need to do. And the training wheels off at this point. We don't have to limit Austin Eckler's touches. We don't have to.
Week 3 was against the Jags too, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yep. So he should be fresh. He said he's best he's ever felt. Best he's ever felt since he had the surgery. He said he hadn't felt this good in years. So he should be fresh.
That man $90 million to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean that's a good job. I mean, I like that. Would you take that job? Choose.
I'd for sure. I'd take $1 million.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I'll get to my low threshold, maybe.
Yeah, so I think that talent wise and effort wise and just overall experience, because that's a factor you have to always enter in when you talk about the playoffs. We've had players that play in the playoffs that are veterans on our team that know exactly what it's like, along with Brandon Staley, who's been in the playoffs before with the Rams. So we know from a experience perspective what it's like for us to play in the playoffs. Now the Jags team, outside of Doug Peterson, their whole entire team is young. So you have a young, inexperienced team in their first playoff game versus a team that has, probably about 40% of veterans and maybe about 30% of players that have been in the playoffs before. So you can kind of calm the ranks and reel the young guys in to tell them that, hey, this is what we expect. This is what it's going to be like. Don't get down on yourself. Kind of encourage them and bring them up along with you. And that's just as valuable as playing well in the game that would allow for you to win playoff games. So I think that if we handle business and we keep the ball rolling offensively, then it should be our game. We just can't have any silly mistakes. And we haven't done that in large space. And this is one thing I'm thankful for in this team. Is Staley has changed with this team and from years past that, not beating yourself, having those critical penalties, those critical fumbles and critical mistakes that cost you games, in a sense, in a large part in the totality of the season. So I think that if we do all those things in concert, then we should win.
I would say that Ed Winchell has the right idea, but I'm not going to put it up because we're trying not to cuss.
Yeah.
Well, that goes to what I said earlier, right? Like Peterson's won a Super Bowl. Staley hasn't been to the playoffs. I think that's the X factor, right? And I remember a Jags team. I remember a very young Jags team with Mark Brunell that went to the AFC Championship game. I remember a very young Jags team that was one series away from either going to the Super Bowl or winning it. Beating Brady.
They were there with that
Bortles.
Joe quarterback of Bortles.
Blake Bortles.
So
Blake Bortles.
Going far.
Yeah, it's caveats to all of that. I mean, you had a legit offense with Brunell, and you had a lights out defense with
John Henderson and
right. Yeah, you had a lights out defense with them boys with Blake Bortles. So they have good talent.
It's not Jacksonville anymore.
There you go. Exactly. So they're young.
The best pass rusher is Dwayne Smoot.
Right.
I think it's
right. So
they also had Malik Jackson at that time, and if I'm not mistaken, from the Broncos Super Bowl 15.
They did.
If I remember correctly. I actually have a question for you, Coach, with regards to your upcoming game here, specifically with regards to your previous comment about your more challenges than positives as it pertains to stopping the run. And that is the fact that when I project out from what we saw with the Chargers versus Broncos, you guys truly did struggle to stop Latavius Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to mention the dude is massive. He's just
we talked about how his bio last week. We did talk about that in length. So yeah, he's definitely a
6'3"
human being.
He's a monster of a man, right? Like he's just massive. But
right. But that's not Travis Etienne is a shell of that. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
Where I was going with that was
the
Jags already elevated Snoop Connor as their RB3 onto their active 53, and they did in fact play him not last week but the week prior, and he did quite well. So my question for you is, he's 5'10" and about 225 or 222, somewhere in that range. That's still a pretty big guy considering he's shorter, right? He's not 6'3" and 230, but he's a thick dude. He's a thick dude. So yeah, like a little bit of a bowling ball, right? So he's going to give you similar fits to what someone like Murray is, just at a different height. So how do you think you guys are going to be able to manage a big bruising style back like that with some power when that has typically been something that you've struggled with most of the year?
Well, I mean, let's think about it like this. How often does a third-string running back who hadn't really played all year get any playoff experience or playoff burn in any facet, any year? I mean, if you're worried about a third-string running back hurting you who hadn't played all year,
Anderson.
You're focusing on the wrong thing. That's a whole different ball game. I mean,
they called that dude up for last-minute goal line run if they need it because he's in at T20.
Right. Yeah, that's about
it's the ETN show.
So I think we're looking at ETN and Hasty being the main people that are going to touch the ball from a running back perspective. So we're going to focus on stopping them. If Snoop Connor is the X factor and they've been hiding them all this year, then you just live with it, right? Because you can't cover up everything that they have. Like, you can't account for every single thing they have. So if we're going to nitpick and say that Snoop Connor is going to be the X factor, he's going to kill us and he's going to have 150 yards rushing, then hey, it is what it is. It's something you can't prepare for.
Snoop Connor's about to get the bag.
Right. Right. Yeah. Pay that man. Damn. Why is he in a practice spot all year if he's that dominant, right? So, again, you can't really focus on things like that and worry about things like that. You have to really focus on what you know, what you've seen on film. That's NFL.
Isn't it Henderson, or did they drop Henderson? I know they picked him up when the Rams dumped him.
I haven't seen him either. I've seen Hasty and ATN. That's what I've seen all year.
I think it is Hasty, yeah.
Yeah, Hasty's
even in that Week 3 game.
Hasty and Connor.
Remember they had Robinson. They traded Robinson to the Jets after Brees Hall got hurt.
Yeah, because in that Week 3 game, it was like all James Robinson, I believe.
Right.
Like, I think ETN wasn't getting used yet. And then,
Exactly. So yeah, that's another thing. So
my fantasy team took a hit when they traded J-Rob to New York, and he didn't.
Well, yeah, ETN did good for me. At least got me to the playoffs. So I'm glad they did it. So yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I'm not overly concerned about. I mean, from a coaching perspective, from a football perspective, from a playing perspective, I'm not overly concerned about Snoop Connor, him running the ball at a high clip. Only if ETN and AC go down, then you could be concerned about what he's going to do and his physical stature. But again, you got Christian Kirk to be concerned about, Evan Ingram, ETN, Hasty. Those are the guys that can kill you. Zay Jones, if you don't count for those guys and keep those guys balled up, then you have a problem. But where about Snoop Connor in the third is the third string running back on the practice squad? Not concerned.
Okay. You heard it here first. Those are famous last words to see what happens in the game.
It's pretty smug of you.
Oh yeah, it just might be, but it is what it is.
If only I was a Jaguars fan, I'd rip India. You smug bastard.
No, I think it was Smug Cookie.
Oh Jesus!
It was Smug Cookie last week.
It was certainly something like that.
Sweet potato.
Sure.
I called you a smug a-hole.
I'm just a smug little sweet potato, right?
Yeah.
No,
your arrogance is offensive, Alex.
Smug a-hole for me.
Yeah. So, is there any part of the Jags offense that you are particularly concerned with as it matches up to your defense?
I'm concerned about giving Trevor Lawrence time to dissect. That's what I'm concerned about. If you give him time, you let him sit on his spot and throw the ball, then that's a concern. But if you can move him over the spot, give him limited time to throw, keep him off schedule, then no matter how many weapons he has out there, you're just not going to bode well for them moving the ball in a high clip. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just to keep him off schedule. If you keep him off schedule, limit the run game, if we able to get up on them early, then I think that, again, going back to the inexperience, that will weigh heavily on the idea of them trying to mount a comeback. But they play without injury. They're very young. They're very hungry. So we can't be ignorant of that. But yes, I mean, understand that we have talent too. So I think that that's the biggest thing that we have to worry about is playing our game and keeping to our game plan.
Let me ask a question, Coach. Like when you played them, was Bosa the only guy that was injured that game? Because if that's it, then it's
no. A lot of people were hurt in that game. Herbert was coming off that rib injury.
I wrote it down actually.
The week before that, he had just got hurt from the rib injury.
Slater got hurt in
that game.
Murray got hurt in the game.
Yep.
Keenan Allen, J.C. Jackson, and
J.C.
and J.C. Jackson.
Sorry, who?
Yeah, well, they didn't play though.
Yeah, right.
Hey, that's week 3. It's relevant enough because you would anticipate them to at least make it to week 3.
Yeah.
Well, it was on and off because he didn't play the first game against the Raiders. He played against y'all, Alex, and then he didn't play against the Jaguars.
Well, he's like a shell of himself against KC.
Well, it is what it is. But yeah, I think that it's one of those things where you have to come to grips with what he does well, and I think he's much more of a press man corner, and we play a lot of zone. So I think it's a schematic difference that you need to kind of correct. Because when he plays press man, he's really good. But when you have to sit back in zone, especially off coverage zone, have to move and react.
But why do you throw money at a guy like that doesn't fit your scheme? Well,
it's one of those things where you have to do it when you can because it's it's not like the Jalen Ramseys and the Surtains and the Sauce Gardners are flocking to play for the Chargers. So when somebody's available and they willing to sign
wouldn't you rather draft like a Woolen, right? Like that dude was 5th round, but he fits how Seattle plays, and look at how productive he's been. Like you look at even Cap's guy like Nnamdi Asomugha, right? It was like the best corner in the NFL.
Dang it, you smug a-hole! I was just gonna say that.
Hey, it's not smug if I beat you to the punch, all right? Let's.
No, I was allowing you to go, and then I said, and oh by the way, when the Eagles picked Asomugha, who was an All-Pro in press man, and he tried to make him a zone corner, he sucked.
See, there you go. I teed that up for you.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. You're just trying to get on my good side again.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that from the limited time I've seen him on tape in the last year with the Pats and then playing with the Chargers in the limited time he did before he got hurt, I think that's where he flourished at. I think that he struggled a bit in zone coverage and in the exotic schemes we were running. But every time I seen him line up in press man, that it was pretty much pun intended, a lockdown situation. So I think that.
I like how he snuck in the lockdown. I like that. I like
that's just a humble plug. Lockdown podcast.
There you go, Lockdown Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. So yeah, I think that it's not a situation where it's a lost cause. You have to make it work because he's making that much money. Assuming he comes back off the injury healthy when he's ready and he's whole. But you just have to kind of scheme it to a point where you can utilize him at his best talents. And allow for him to be able to do what he does best in those situations. So you kind of, put him where he belongs and put him where he can be ultimately successful and productive. Because I think that Michael Davis and Callahan and Jasir Taylor and Asante do well in both man and zone. But you just have to, if you want to just get cute with it and say, hey, we're going to play zone, but we're going to let you play press man on the outside. On the island by yourself. We just want to let you man lock on the boundary by yourself, and we're gonna play zone behind it. Those kind of things you can scheme those kind of things up and allow him to basically press and be physical with their best receiver, kind of thing. So he can body up Cortland Sutton or body up not a Miko Harmon, but Valdez Scantling, who was probably the tallest receiver that they had. Devontae Adams just play physical with those guys in one-on-one situations, and we'll play zone behind it. You can get cute with it. So I don't think it's a lost cause, but I think they just need to come to grips with the fact that he's better in man than zone.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there any other questions that you have for Coach or any of us with regards to the AFC West or specifically with Coach?
We got an interesting one here from Anthony, but it's a fantasy question. Although I think it'd be interesting to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know whether you saw that yet.
He said, "Hey,
I saw it.
The Chiefs fan." He didn't say your name. Hey, I'm the Chiefs fan.
I'll take it.
No, it's smug a-hole.
All right, whatever, man. So he said he traded Jordan Love for a second-round pick in a dynasty league. Was that a good deal? Well, Anthony, I think that depends on what other QBs you got. But you definitely bought high on Jordan Love heading into probably another everlasting saga of will Aaron Rodgers play next year.
That's a fact.
But, sometimes the dynasty leagues, like second-round picks, kind of just a waste of space anyways. So, I mean, I'd call it probably a win for both sides, especially if Jordan Love in the next year or two, gets a shot. But, I mean, they really got to do something with him next season, right? Because I think his fifth year's coming up.
It is.
And you either got to put something on tape to sell it to someone else or sign him for not let him leave your door. So, I mean, this all should come to fruition pretty soon. So,
yeah, I want to clean it up for the show, but as my grandfather used to say, either poop or get off the pot.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I would say it's time for
You
them
can say it in English.
shite or get off the pot.
There you go. There you go. You say in old English.
There you go. So yeah, I think it's time for them to address that, because there's no way you can spend a first-round pick on that guy and not know what you have.
Yeah, like what team has spent a first-round pick on a quarterback, no less,
and never played him? And never play him ever. Well,
Paxton Lynch got a run, and that guy had no business being in the NFL.
How long did Josh Rosen play? Did he play a whole season?
Josh Rosen played. Let's see. I think he's played at least half a season.
Okay.
I mean, he at least got 8 games to figure out he didn't last. Like, he wasn't good.
They figured 8 games ago, they're like, we're drafting a quarterback again next year. That's basically what they said.
Bad.
Yeah. Like, get him out of here. We're drafting a quarterback again.
Let's see here. Josh Rosen, in his career, has started 16 games, 13 of which were his rookie year in Arizona.
Okay. So that's almost a whole year.
Hey, I'm just saying. I think Jordan Love has started 2 games.
You played against y'all, and when Aaron was hurt that one game, right? He played against the Chiefs, and they almost won. And then
but it wasn't because of him.
No, it wasn't. It was not. It was not. It was a defense because of defense. But yeah,
he is. Let's see, Jordan Love. He started 1 game in his career, actually. That was last year against the Chiefs.
Okay. Wow. A first-round pick that started 1 game. That's insane.
First-round pick, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got to do something with him.
Well,
They traded up to get that dude, too.
But the indictment is already there because they had an opportunity to trade away and get rid of Aaron Rodgers, and rather than trading him, they re-upped his contract.
They did. But I mean,
it was clearly Aaron Rodgers. I think that had more to do with Aaron Rodgers being like a piece during the whole process than anything else. And now it kind of blew up in his face. So I really think the front office is going to take a long look of do we move on and just. Right. I mean, they paid. I think they paid Brett Favre $20 million to leave.
They did.
To retire, and then he went to the Jets, and they're like, "Hey, we don't care. You're out of here." So I mean, obviously Jordan Love it's not the same situation because he's not a budding superstar to Aaron Rodgers, or maybe he is, but we don't know that at this point. But they clearly aren't jumping at the bit to get him in there, or maybe they are. I mean, I feel like you kind of have to tread lightly in a situation like that when you have Aaron Rodgers, who legit just won back-to-back MVPs, and has won a Super Bowl and is for sure a first ballot Hall of Famer that you kind of have to tread lightly on moving on from him or not, and hope that it comes down to a soft landing. But I feel like most of the times I've seen with Brady and these other guys that go somewhere else to play 1 or 2 more years and fizzle out, it doesn't play out that way. So I think that the Green Bay has to make a long and hard decision this year of
that they do.
Is paying Rodgers $60 million in the best interest of our competitive nature, for the next 5 years, or do we see what we have in Love? So I guess to full circle answer your question, Anthony, I think a second-round pick's a decent deal.
Right.
Because, if he blows up, you could probably sell him for more. So
yeah, because I was actually, when they signed Rodgers to that deal, I was looking for a sign and trade for him to go to Denver because Hackett was gone. So I figured that they were going to sign and trade him to Denver then. But that didn't materialize. Obviously, Russell landed there. But Yeah, it's a very odd situation in Green Bay, and the fact that Aaron Rodgers is not working with his receivers in the offseason to build any chemistry is another telling
I
sign.
mean, look at Christian Watson. Like Christian Watson definitely came around,
He's
but like
stud.
Christian Watson could have been doing what he was doing in week 2.
He could have been, yes.
If they just actually, you know, like not to be smug, but Mahomes, you know, once they got all their guys, he invited them all to Texas, and they're throwing routes every day.
Right.
Like I'm sure Herbert did that. I know Carr's done that with people.
Even Wilson
Russ did that.
Russ
I mean,
did that,
every QB you see that they go somewhere and freaking throw balls on air, like because
Right.
that's just the best way to bond. Right?
We're playing 707 all summer, right?
But you don't have Rodgers doing that, and then like you look at, you look at Christian Watson, week like 10 starts coming around, scoring multiple touchdowns a game,
Right.
and it's like, where was this whole, you know, there was a whole narrative of the start of the year was there was no chemistry. He's really missing Devontae. It's like I think he brought a lot of that on himself by how he handled the whole offseason. And I mean, I get you got to do that in your own financial interest to finesse more money out of people, but at the same time, like it all blew up in his face because he's not the beloved, or maybe he really wasn't that beloved, but you know, the beloved Aaron Rodgers anymore. So
interesting. Kelly Mond.
Now he's dating the Bucks owner's daughter. So
is he really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Kelly Mond is dog water, man. I think he's. I don't even know where he's at. The Vikings just cut ties with him after 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that one.
It's going to be interesting, though, you know, in the offseason, because I think there's got to be like at least 6 teams that are looking for a QB, whether through
maybe for sure.
Yeah, I think someone asked about my thoughts on the Carr thing, and you know, I've always said as much of a hole that I can be, like I always respect Derek Carr. Like Derek Carr is always. Thanks, Mike's my biggest fan. You know, Mike calls me smug. I think every show, so he's consistent. We'll give him that.
He doesn't like your face.
Yeah, just this.
Yeah, he doesn't like your face. He just want to punch it. There you go, Rich. He just want to punch it. I don't want to punch your face. I just want to punch one of these right.
Yeah, just right. It's not so much here.
Right, right
here.
your hole.
Right here. But you know, I agreed with Cap and looking at the parameters of Carr's contract. It was pretty apparent to me that they did it because, you know, McDaniels has probably been saying every week that he didn't want Derek Carr or doesn't want him moving forward.
Right.
And they decided, well, now's the time to just pull the plug because otherwise we're on the hook for $40 million if he goes out there and gets hurt.
There you go.
So I mean, I get why they did it, but at the same time, the optics of it is not very good because I mean, here you had this guy was a second, third round pick. You know, he wasn't your Jamarcus Russell. He wasn't picked number 1 overall. He wasn't supposed to be that guy, and he's been there for
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, you know, 9 years. I mean, I think consistently put up stats without a very good supporting cast for a long stretch of that. And then once they start to get good and get the offensive guy that you know was maybe going to mesh well with your QB who just threw 5,000 yards, and you got Devontae Adams, and then you know. He pulls a Belichick and he's like, I don't want him. Give me Stidham. I know Stidham from New England. So.
I want Stid.
But, you know, I'm pulling for Derek Carr. I think he's going to go to either the Jets or the Commanders, one of those teams that was
How poetic would him to be to go like the Colts and then come back to play the Raiders and give them 300 yards and 4 touchdowns?
In my opinion, man, Colts are drafting someone because they've done this for like 4 years now. I don't think they're in the market.
Yeah, but they still haven't learned their lesson. I think that, and I will have a show, and I will go around the league. There are at least 10 to 12 teams that will want Derek Carr's services. 10 to 12.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm him, though, I'm going to, like I said, Jets or Commanders, someone with a solid defense who have already been in the playoff hunt with, you know, Taylor Heineke and Zach Wilson. So I think if you plug Derek Carr into either one of those
he would be ideal for the Jets.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at
he's
very similar to Garoppolo, right? And Saleh.
You also got to look at it from the perspective that you don't want to get away from the AFC. Like if you're a smart man, you want out of the AFC. You want to go to the NFC team and be comfortable for a little while and play some solid ball and have to fight Mahomes and.
I mean, look at the East, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, you got
East kind of blew up this year.
Daniel Jones and Jalen Hurts. The only person you got to worry about is Jalen Hurts in that situation. So yeah,
right. But you also have to remember is that Derek Carr is at least presents himself as a very, very grounded individual.
Yeah,
I mean, he seems like it.
And he just seems like he's just level all the time. And I think that bodes very well for someone being in New York and being able to manage the New York media.
I just don't like he's in the Jets.
Derek Carr's always struck me as much as you like maybe being not a Raiders fan, watching some of his emotional pressers. I mean, you got to respect the fact that the dude is who he is, right? Like he's not going to go out there and, not say something because the press won't like it or like not do something. So like, that's another component of why I've always respected him. Like, football is an emotional game, and
just like Phillip Rivers, right?
Great. Yeah, like
he's just like Phillip Rivers.
I respected Phillip Rivers. Absolutely. But I still respect him. But I really think, Carr. If I'm Carr, I'm asking to be released so I can negotiate my own, next steps.
He can do that regardless because there's no trade clause, so he can pick where he wants to go.
I know, but I would rather start fresh on the money.
Okay, I guess that's a good point. That's a good point.
And I think that also adds a little lore. It would maybe bring more. I mean, I find it really hard to believe that every team that needs a QB would be chomping at the bit to sign him. But I think that will add a little more lure to get someone on board of like, hey, I want to rework my financials. I just want to know that. I guess the Titans. I kind of forgot about them. Thanks, Deb.
But the only thing about that is that the thing is with Carr is if he wants to keep that $30 million a year, he'll have to go via a trade because I don't think he's going to get $30 million via a free agency pickup.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. They're tossing money around.
I would think Commanders will pay it. They're not paying a quarterback right now. Taylor Heinicke is their main guy. They're cutting David Carson Wentz.
I think they're paying Wentz.
Well, again, it's no cap hit, so he can go for free.
So with the Jets, though, Jets are Mike White's a free agent. They got Zach Wilson on his
rookie deal.
Deal.
Right.
Although they say they're with him, like I doubt that.
I doubt that highly. When you tell a man he got to get away from the team for a while to reset, then that's not bode well for me. Doesn't bode well for me. So I think I would go to the NFC. I mean, even if Brady leaves Tampa, he can go to Tampa. And that's the Brady situation.
Stop doing my show.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I didn't get an agenda.
I think you need to start sending us your little cliff notes of what you're going to be talking about.
Right. So
we'll be sure to hit those right at the beginning, and then we get you done.
You guys
just give away all the nuggets early. Just give it all away.
So stop talking about Nnamdi Asomugha when I was about ready to talk about Nnamdi Asomugha. Stop talking about where Derek Carr is going to go. You're just ruining it. You're ruining it.
Sorry.
And I got to go to NFL Nation Live because that's the show you guys got to watch after this show.
Shameless plug you.
NFL Nation Live right after this.
Right after this.
Shout out to Ref.
Catch us right on NFL Nation Live after this.
I just wanted to say hi to Ref. He and I haven't chatted in a while, so shout out to Ref, who is the former NFL referee that is the primary host on NFL Nation Live. So shout out to Ref and Captain. Thank you for stepping in and representing your Las Vegas Raiders. And we will see you next week on the Wild Wild West show, where we will find out if there are still 2 AFC West teams in the playoffs, or if we're down to 1.
I think we're going to see a Chiefs-Chargers divisional round, man.
I'm here for it.
I really do.
I don't want the big, tall Jack Daniels sitting next to me for next week's show, so I'm pulling for a win.
Yeah. I
might be drinking Grand Marnier like Cap all show. There you go.
I tell you what, I will give a Grand Marnier toast and will drink the shot for you if you guys win.
I'm with it. Let's do it.
Okay. And you know I don't normally drink unless the Raiders lose, so this will be something special.
Well, that explains why that bottle's empty. That explains why that bottle's empty. So yeah, I get it.
Oh, there's a dude. Did you see there's a lot in here?
A little. That bottle is about
Whoa,
gone.
whoa, yeah, that's a pre-buzz amount right there.
That's a shot and a half.
That's not going to make it through an evening.
No.
That if you're a Raiders
I've
fan.
had that all year. I've had that bottle all year. Come on, man. I don't drink a lot.
A lot.
Most of that bottle was consumed on this show.
I know. I was going to say. I feel like.
I think it may have actually been consumed mostly on this show.
That is my
Yeah, most of that bottle has been consumed on this show. I can guarantee it.
That's probably accurate. We get that.
Yeah.
You won't do another one right
See,
now.
and if I'm lying, I'm dying. Trust me.
You
on
won't
that.
do another shot right now.
Leather helmet shots next week, Cap. Leather helmet shots.
I think you need a quick one
What-
before
what-
the
do you
NFL
want me
Nation
to
Live.
do
After
now?
the show, NFL Nation Live.
Right.
Make
Leather
sure you join the
helmet
show's
shots.
over.
To my shipmates here on the show.
There you go. Peer pressure.
Woo!
Yeah, you're wonderful.
I love that Anthony's just firing off these really enticing questions. Unfortunate that Cap has to go, but Cap, would you trade for Justin Fields right now? Would you trade the number 7 pick?
No.
Really? Oh,
No.
I feel like Justin Fields is the type of guy you need.
I agree.
Someone that can just run around, especially with your offensive line. No, that wasn't meant to be a slight. I'm just saying, like, I mean, outside of Colton Miller.
But it came out that way, Mr. Smug.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm just saying.
You should wear a t-shirt next week that says smug, by the way. I just want to put that out there. You know.
Yeah, you gotta change your name underneath it.
Smug.
Smug.
Boy. Smuggy boy.
Oh, there you go. The real
Smuggy boy
Smug
KC. That's my new thing now.
Smuggy boy Casey.
There
New
it is.
Twitter handle incoming.
Yep. Whole new personality. You
Right.
guys thought I was bad now. Just wait. I'm taking it.
I can't wait to do my Carlton.
Mike, I hope you're buckled up, buddy. You brought this on.
Carlton Goonie Goo Dance. I gotta go, guys.
I hate to do
Hey,
this
take
to a
care.
fellow
We'll see you
St.
next
Louis
week. Have a
person, but
great-
I will.
Have a great weekend. And that even includes you, Coach.
Oh,
Have
wow.
a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, take care, guys. See ya.
So,
As he leaves. And no
as he
buzzing.
leaves. Yeah.
And no buzzing.
Yeah.
Buzzing
So,
I can actually hear.
Yeah, so I think that's about going to do it for the show this evening. Anyway, we've covered all the bases and all those things. I do realize that my Denver Broncos are in the process of interviewing new head coach candidates, but I first off, MHRT Network already did a full show on the coach search yesterday.
Yeah.
On our network, which you can go ahead and check out by doing a quick search on the YouTubes.
Like the video. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty well done. They kind of covered a lot of the big elements and the big items. But I do think that on the Wild Wild West, I'd like to maybe bring that up as we get into next week's show, depending on what happens with the Chargers and whatnot, to bring that up as kind of the secondary.
You mean to tell me we're not going to have a
topic.
whole show on KC if the Chargers don't make it to next round? That's the only reason I agreed to do all this, because I thought by the point of this year we would only have to talk about the Chiefs.
There you go.
So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and quickly mute Alex. The power. But anyways, with regards to that, I just wanted to thank all of you for joining us this evening on the Wild Wild West podcast. All of my fellow co-hosts, we've had a blast talking to you about the AFC West, what we're going to see hopefully coming up in the games ahead, and also looking ahead starting now in terms of what we might start seeing in terms of changes in the offseason. Those are all the types of topics that you're going to start seeing come on the show. I will also, and we will collectively be bringing in kind of guests for some kind of Q&A stuff, things like that. If there's a specific team that you would like some insight on, please go ahead and leave a comment down below in any of the videos that you are watching right now. And we will do our very best to bring someone on. And if you have specific questions about a specific team, please ask those as well.
Way to go, Dad. I like that.
You're lucky Cap's not here to call you also smug
Right.
a-hole. Just hit
Right.
both father and son.
There you go. That's where you get it from.
The whole
That's what he
family
would say.
line.
He would say that's where you get it from. I promise you that's what he'd say.
Yeah, he'd say something like apple doesn't fall far from the tree,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
some saying that existed well before I was born. He pulled that one out. And,
Right, exactly. Right after the Last Supper. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So anyways, I want to thank you all for joining us on today's show of the
Daddy Smug. Yeah, Dad. Yeah, Dad. We love it.
That is amazing. Your dad even did the zinger right before the outro was played. It was right before the. Oh yeah, that was brilliant. That was spectacular. So, anyways, on behalf of the Wild Wild West and the MHRT Network, and a special shout out to Daddy Smug, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Peace.